Well, hello, guys. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different from the usual vlog because there were some restrictions over at this Winchester Mystery House tour. So here goes. Hey, guys, we're over here at the Winchester House over in San Jose, California. Been here several times throughout my life living in California. So, well, I know that there are going to be restrictions regarding what I could actually film inside the mansion, but I'll make do with what I can do, which is take a lot of photos and maybe put in some narration later. So, we'll hope you enjoy it. We'll see you soon. Okay, so we started our day trip on a Thursday, July 17th, 2025. This was kind of a side trip for another thing that we had to do over in San Jose. So, since we were in the area, we thought we'd take advantage of a favorite location I used to go to several times since my childhood. Always fascinated by the Winchester Mystery House. But anyway, a little background. Sarah Winchester was born in 1839 in New Haven, Connecticut. She was called Sally by her friends closest to her, and in 1862 she married William Wirt Winchester, who was famous for the Winchester Rifle Company. Anyway, through some tragic events, he passed away, and in 1884, Sarah Winchester, as per our tour guide Earl, started building what turned into a 160-room, 24,000 square foot home that consisted of 47 fireplaces, 6 kitchens, 3 lifts, 10,000 windows. Anyway, this first stairway was described as the Easy Rider stairway because she suffered from arthritis later in her life. Some of the eccentricities of this house included this stairway that basically went into the ceiling. One theory was that it was to ward off the evil spirits that were killed by her late husband's Winchester rifle. Now, Earl also mentioned some of the items here that were never installed because she had passed away before they had a chance to. And this is the only known photo that was taken of Sarah Winchester at this home. So, just a rarity. Yeah, and like I said, some of the uninstalled wallpaper, for example, was just left in storage like this one was, or whatever. And, like I said, she suffered from arthritis later in her life, which is the reason why the staircases had very limited elevations each step. So in other words, for this particular one, you basically had to travel approximately 150 feet through staircases just to go 6 feet up in total elevation. Now, the reason why I took a photo of this HVAC duct and vent was because you know that at that time air conditioning didn't exist yet. So I thought that was a little interesting fun fact right there. Anyway, these were the Easy Riser staircase. This is from another angle right here. You could see the gradual progression in each step. And Earl was also mentioning some of the items on the wallpaper because they were so elaborate. Now, he said that because they were quite exquisite at the time, each one of these squares of wallpaper or wall coverings cost approximately, I want to do it in $25, $165 per square foot. Now, you can imagine back in the late 1800s with that, how much this covering all the walls would have been. And this first bedroom was apparently where Sarah Winchester had passed away. Apparently she had died in her sleep, and she was found that way by one of the servants the next morning. Now, one of the things that I always wondered about some of the access ways, like this one here, you could tell it was only, I would say, no more than maybe a couple feet in width. This is another interesting thing. This was a custom shower that was never used. A custom shower because it was perfectly fit for Sarah's small stature at approximately 4'9". And anyway, showers were rare, as this fun fact stated, so it was one of those things that was one of the mysteries of the house. More easy riser stairways. Now, there were normal stairs that were, in throughout the house. It's just that a lot of these locations were like this. And this was one of the many bedrooms that Sarah Winchester slept in. Now, what I heard was that she never slept in the same bedroom more than one night per bedroom. So it was an interesting little fun fact right there. One theory was that she had a superstition that if she slept in the same room more than one evening, the spirits would track her down. This is an opening to the downstairs kitchen. I'm not really sure what it was used for because there's no dumbwaiter here. So, and then we got into the seance room. Now, Sarah Winchester was a strong believer of psychics, which is the reason why a lot of famous people at that time believed in them. There was only one way in and one way out, which is the reason why this door access way had only a doorknob on the outside but not on the inside. Oh, and Sarah Winchester was also very resourceful. She knew about the droughts in California, so whenever she watered her plants, the overflow, guess what, was collected into a barrel on the first floor and reused on other garden plants. This is one of the elevators. I'm not sure if she ever used this, to be honest. Story about the fireplaces here is that many of them were unusable because they had no chimney. In case you're wondering, well, why did she build it there? Well, if you questioned if you were a contractor installing what she wanted, if you questioned her judgment, you weren't going to work for her any longer. So if you wanted to keep your job, you just did what you were told. She was a very difficult person to work with. Now, this one I'm not. Oh yeah, he did mention that Earl did mention that skylights were used throughout the home because she believed in conserving energy, and which is the reason why there were so many skylights throughout the mansion. This one was more of a day room in which she hung out and just relax when there was no business to tender. One of the many skylights. And like I said, she was very resourceful and wanted to use as much natural light as possible throughout her home. One of these mosaic glasses. The theory was that when the light shines through this mosaic glass, it should make this beautiful design on the floor. Well, the problem was that the mosaic glass faced the south. So how are you going to get sun to penetrate through if it comes out from the east and sets in the west? So she had this skylight built above, thinking that would remedy the problem, but it didn't work. Anyway, then 1906 came along and the earthquake struck, which damaged a good portion of the front rooms, which you see right here. And what it did was, this is the doorway to nowhere. 13 feet fall if you walked right through there. Anyway, what was here before the 1906 earthquake was this tower that you see right here. Now, there were multiple stories that were damaged as a result of the 1906 earthquake, and they had a really good simulator of what the earthquake sounded like. Now, I'm going to be showing you a clip momentarily of an earlier trip that I managed to sneak a little audio. Anyway, just to show that it was me on this tour, not just at the front. So anyway, there was significant damage in this room, and it was explained to us that Sarah Winchester was actually in this room when the earthquake struck early in the morning. And she did get trapped because one of the door frames did get distorted, so one of the servants had to get her out. Now, this is a view from that upper story to the rest of the roof structure in the home. Now, because this was a continuously progressing construction, which never really had a finishing point, many of the windows could no longer see anything other than just the buildings themselves. Now, she had what you don't see here is what the surroundings actually looked like. Now, she owned a very large apricot orchard around here, which she actually formed a business, which added to her already large fortune that she inherited from her late husband. So she was also a very shrewd business person as well. Here's a joke that I thought about, is that, isn't it nice that the Century Movie Theater was located right next door to her home right here? Well, it was funny when I thought about it. Anyway, by the way, these are, you might say, normal staircases. It wasn't one of those easy risers, and by the way, it's where I jammed my finger while going down the rail, holding onto the railing. Anyway, this is one of the rooms that was not explained to us. I didn't understand why there was gravel on the floor. That was not explained to us. Farmhands, the laborers for Sarah Winchester, they were dedicated because she paid them well, paid them like twice the going rate for the labor that she did. Oh, by the way, as the tour continued, I did manage to sneak a little audio here, so I'll let you listen in on this.
$450,000 in today's money. Hired herself some carpenters. Went to work. Work she did. She worked for nearly 40 years. During those nearly 40 years of work, the changes she made in that little farmhouse were nothing if not dramatic. Over those many decades, her carpenters eventually extended the back of the farmhouse right here, some 125 feet to the west. And the 2 floors that she started with added 2 more floors, gave her 4 floors, not including that big 3-level tower over on the north side. That's a tower that collapsed during the San Francisco earthquake. Now, as I said, the changes she made to that little farmhouse were nothing, if not dramatic. So much so that if the previous owner came here to visit his old place, why, he'd probably recognize just one thing of his old place. His steps. These are the original steps of that little farmhouse from his back porch to what was then his backyard. Can you imagine what he was thinking when he saw what Sarah had done to his
Okay, as tour continued, we went into this laundry room. Now, keep in mind that at this time there were no real washing machines, just these big sinks that you see right here, and some, I don't want to call them washing machines, but things that were used to do the laundry. And keep in mind that we're talking about the late 1800s to the early 1900s, so these are just some throwback items. Now, our guide, Earl, did not cover this particular room that you see right here. The only thing I could guess is that it was stuff that was never installed. By the way, Sarah Winchester was an eccentric when it came to having food prepared, which is the reason why she had so many employees prepare food just for one person. So anyway, a little side note right here is that none of the appliances that you see here or the furniture were the original. They were sold off by the niece, who was the only heir of Sarah Winchester, who, by the way, never had a will on the house itself. Interesting. Anyway, this is the twin dining room. Now, I'm not sure why there's anything unique about it other than what you saw right now, which is just two lengthy dining room areas, and once again, they were never used. I'll comment later on, asking Earl the question as to why she built things that she never intended to use. And his response was, "Didn't you hear what I just said right now?" She liked to work, and she thought to herself, now you can't have a beautiful home without having a dining room, or later on, an entertainment ballroom. Okay. Hey, when she's paying higher than the going rate by nearly double, you're not going to complain if you're gainfully employed, right? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Just don't question it, because if you question any of her judgments, like I said earlier, you were not going to work for her any longer. Now, one little fun fact about Sarah Winchester was that she was obsessed with the number 13, like on this chandelier. If it is really a chandelier, there are a total of 13 lights on there. Oh, by the way, this is that ballroom that I mentioned just now. In the ballroom, what's interesting is that off to the side, which Earl is going to be pointing out right here, that little door right there was a safe. And the only thing that she kept in her safe were the obituaries of her late husband and her infant daughter, and the lock hair of her infant daughter. Oh, this is the cold storage, which was kept cold with ice cubes or ice blocks that were transported from the Sierra Nevada every season. And they would last the entire year before they had to be replaced because they would melt away. It was ingenious because it was very well insulated. Anyway, as the tour continued, what you just saw was basically a cupboard that led into another area of the home, so it wasn't really a cupboard. On the left of Earl here is the smallest cupboard, which was not really much of a cupboard either because it was so shallow. By the way, during this trip, I did actually almost trip on one of the elevation changes because I didn't see it. Anyway, that's the one thing that you always have to be wary of so that you don't injure yourself along the way. And that pretty much concluded the tour of this 24,000 square foot, 160 room facility. Well, that was actually quite a tour. Learned a few things from this. That was actually quite a tour. Learned a few things from this particular guide. Forgot what his name was already, but anyway, one of the more interesting things that he said to me when I asked the question of why did Sarah Winchester go through the trouble of constructing an entertainment room if she had no intention of using it, and his response was, "Weren't you listening? just while we were upstairs, she liked to work. So why would you build a beautiful house without having an entertainment room? Was his response. Okay, I get it. You gotta listen carefully throughout this tour if you're gonna be asking questions that he feels that he already answered. So anyway, that was a nice little highlight of the day and actually made the trip a little bit more colorful. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this little tour, and we'll hope to see you again soon. And thanks for watching. Wanted to add a little story that took place that I heard from a previous tour, is that one day the then President Theodore Roosevelt made an unannounced visit to Sarah Winchester's home and knocked on the door when one of the servants didn't know who he was. He didn't know he was the president of the U.S. Said, "Hey, you're not supposed to go through there. You're supposed to go in through the servants' entrance." So upset, Theodore Roosevelt just drove off. The only reason why he made that unannounced visit was because he was a big fan of the Winchester rifle, which was known as the gun that won the West. So when Sarah Winchester heard later that it was the president of the U.S. that visited her, she had absolutely no regrets because it was an unannounced visit. Anyway, that little fun story. And by the way, that's the door that leads to nowhere. And this was the tower that had the multiple stories that was destroyed in the earthquake. You can see a little opening right in the middle there. So anyway, that's it. The vlog is over.